My name is Asha Santee, and I'm the drummer.
Reggie Volume, saxophonist, and I play keyboards.
David Knox, engineer.
I'm Yudu Gray, and I'm one of the executive producers.
Jennifer Patience Rowe, background vocalist.
Doug America, I play bass. Jake Vicious Graticelli, a guitarist.
Joe May, and I am a singer.
Don Mills, and I am the music director for the House Collective, THC.
Just the volumes. Well, it was something that actually just kind of just happened.
I guess if it was a movie and you would watch the movie, you would say, it was almost like it was like foreshadowing, like somewhere down the line, they're going to be a set group playing together.
Just over a year ago, I was doing a show. I was one of the acts there, and Joe May was one of the acts there. It's my first time hearing them. It was Joe and Jake as a duo, and when I first heard Joe, I was like, yo, this kid is amazing. They need a drummer. I wish I could drum for them right now on their set. So afterwards, I talked to them, and I was just like, yo, anytime you guys need a drummer, just let me know, because I love what you do.
I was doing some shows with a couple of the members, Jake and Asha, and I think Doug. We stole him from James Britton's band.
I think I just got a call, and they were like, yo, we need a drummer for this. And then I just kind of just stuck with them when somebody else, I think somebody else was drumming for him at the time. When they couldn't do it, they would call me.
And we was doing a show, and the vibe worked out, and we was killing, and Reggie came on, and then Don came on, and then eventually Patience came on, and we started performing, doing shows with Ra too, and we all worked out together because everybody in the band is super dope.
And I think as exciting and amazing as it was, I was also really nervous to be singing behind Joe May, because his style of singing is very different from mine, so it kind of pulled me out of my comfort zone. And I think I'm very different because of Live at the Treehouse, even just my singing style and the way that I pay attention to music and musicians. That 4 weeks changed me.
I don't know, it just happened. It wasn't nothing that we sat down and planned that we were gonna be in this band together. It was just something that happened. It was about the people, because I knew that I was like, we're gonna get better, because I'm not the best singer ever. None of us are the absolute best at what we do, but I knew that, with the connection we had and the vibes that we felt off each other, I was like, as we continue to do this, we're gonna grow and we will be the best all together. And we created the House Collective, and now we're killing.
Thank you for another day and another opportunity. Thank you for bringing all of these people together and making us one unit and one family. We ask you to bless tonight's set, bless Joe's voice and patience.
I'm trying to get these inputs to work so that my life isn't ruined and I don't die penniless. So, right now that's what I'm doing. I'm dreaming of pizza. So the boxes are right there. If you want to pan the boxes, pan back to Jake. That's what we're trying to go for. So, right now, this is getting in the way of that. Anything 14?
Tori, what's going on?
Man, we're tracing, man. Trying to figure out what's going into the bass, what's going into the guitar. About to get it in. Joe May live at the Treehouse. You know what I'm saying? Witnessing history right now.
I didn't know how to feel about it at first, because I had been 2 years prior, since I had released my last project, I've been, working on just a lot of music, trying to figure out which sound, which direction I wanted to go. So, and I had so many songs, maybe 50 songs recorded, and ready to go. I was trying to put a project together, and when he came, it was just like, nah, forget all that. You're going to take the best out of those 50, and you're just going to do them live. You're going to start over. I was like, I don't know how the producers are going to feel about that.
Well, I know at one point in time, a few of the producers were working on Joe's project, and then the focus shifted to, okay, now, well, what if we did this live album? But then it went from, well, what if we did this live album to we are doing this live album?
I was thinking, oh my goodness, super dope opportunity, but jeez.
Yeah, and it was such a time crunch, and there was so much going on that it's just I didn't want to lose like the integrity of the records, and like there was gonna be this new pressure because of this Grammy and X, Y, and Z, and people were gonna be here, and much less like I'd be able to craft. Like it's almost as if like I was like a sculptor or something, and like it's like okay, you can bring your busts or whatever they are to this awesome fair of Greek heads, right? And you could spend your time in doing whatever, or like this one thing is like, no, instead of that, make your bust instantly in front of all these people, and we're gonna showcase it to the world, but you have to do it immediately, and you have to do it in this time, you have to do it like now.
We've got our work really, really cut out for us. Like I kind of felt a little bit of the pressure on me in the beginning. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I took it and like, the pressure was there, but it wasn't necessarily there like in the beginning. Like the band was still, working out, timing and dynamics and just, the gelling of the band. So I kind of I got to observe. I really wanted to make sure I understood them as a band and as a sound, and Joe May as the lead vocalist initially. So I was pretty cool in the beginning. So I knew what it was. It was we're gonna do that. We're gonna do something like really, really dope. We're gonna make this happen, no matter what.
And so it's a little less of being able to take your time and a little less of being able to scrutinize the details. But I think that's kind of cool because I think really otherwise you sit on stuff forever. You know what I mean? As like creative people, I think if you're given too much time to do something, I think you'll never finish because I think you'll always be like, well, maybe it's 3 degrees left.
We had to flex, like, for us. We got caught in this box in the old space. We had a studio, we had a room, and we kind of got the art of just getting somebody in the booth and recording vocals and mixing and putting it on SoundCloud or iTunes down. And I didn't feel challenged. At one point in time doing that, what we used to do was a challenge. It was like, yo, can we pull this off? Can we actually record somebody and make it sound like everything else that's on iTunes, or can we actually put something out? But once you do that a couple hundred times, like it becomes mundane. And I noticed the team was getting comfortable, like they weren't even looking at sessions like sessions. It was just like eating lunch. It was like, all right, I'm gonna do this and then go on to the next thing. So I felt like we as a team needed to kind of flex. We needed to see like, what can we do? And in the beginning, I didn't know if we were gonna be able to do it or not.
So 2 inputs just went down on us. Trying to get them back up. We're actually like 2 minutes behind. Man, so hours, minutes before show starting, we didn't have half of the inputs. Like half of the instruments were not coming into Pro Tools, not going to the speakers, were just dead. This was an extreme scare for everyone. Me more than anyone though. Like, boss is in the building and he's like making sure everything's running smooth. So breaking the news that we didn't have like half of our machine was kind of like detrimental, like minutes before. Like people have been invited, people are on the way, everything's set up, and nothing is working.
I happen to be one of the people who helps run the sound stuff too, so when something goes wrong, I usually know pretty immediately. But yeah, there was a huge meltdown pretty much like 40 minutes right before everything was about to start, and we had nothing working. Like nothing. We were running cables, none of the inputs were working, the microphones weren't on, it was bad. It was like one of those things where it's like, well, we're going home, But so I was running around doing all that, and we finally got everything to work by like some miracle.
We fixed it. That's how we fixed it. We just fixed it. We made that work. We just made it work. We unplugged everything. We plugged everything up back one by one, located the issue, nipped it in the bud. Everything ran smooth. Showtime. Show started on time. No kinks. Nobody knew that happened except for the people involved with it happening. There you go, Dave.
coming out to our first ever live at the Treehouse. If this is your first time at our new space, thank you. If you're on the team, thank you. The purpose of this was really to show a behind the scenes of how we make music. We started out with not too much, and as we get more, we don't want to leave the idea of you don't need $1 million, you don't need a whole bunch to make great records, you just need great people working with the same collective goal. At the beginning of this year, we said we wanted to win a Grammy. We said, how would we do that? We said, let's put the best musicians in the same space and come up with an album. So, we have no low aspirations for what we want to do. That said, we wanted to let you guys see the raw. Like, this is our recording. What you see tonight is what's going to be on the CD, what's going to be on the video. You guys are a part of it just like we are. You're more than welcome to come down. You can take pictures. You can, as long as you're not touching them or tripping over any wires, you guys are open to kind of walk around and mingle and get to know each other hopefully as well. Our sponsors, Kind Snacks and Atlantico Rum, have decked us up with a whole bunch of stuff, so please help yourselves to drinks and food, and there's food in the kitchen. If you don't know the band, you have Joe May on vocals, you have Patience background, you got Jake on guitars, you got Doug America on bass, you got Don on keys, you got Reggie on keys and sax, and a special appearance by house artist Robbie MC. And sorry, Asha on the drums. Sorry, Asha. She was here and we moved in the room, but as you'll see, she's the glue that holds us together. And then the whole team, I can't even go through the whole list, but hopefully you'll meet them if they're wearing all black or a house shirt. Please introduce yourselves. From the engineers to the video guys, it really is a full crew that puts this together. I literally just get to stand out here and look good for like 10 seconds every time. So please enjoy the product. Turn your phones off, just because we are recording. We don't mind clapping, cheers. If they ask you to do stuff, please feel free to go ahead and do it. But we just don't want to get the iPhone or Galaxy in our recording. So please enjoy the show, and thank you guys for coming.
Wait. On the count of 3, if we can just get everybody to be a part of this this ritual that we like to partake in as a team before we do anything. It's good luck. I'm a very superstitious person, so we can say house on the count of 3. It will get us started on the right note. Ready? 1, 2, 3. House!
I'll be honest, and only a few people know this, because I've only been honest with a few people. This was the first time ever in my 22 years of playing drums that I have felt pressure musically. I don't get nervous in front of big crowds. I played in front of thousands of people. I played in front of important people. I played in front of, a lot of different types of people. And I've never been nervous, never felt any pressure, regardless if I've known the music or not. But when we had that talk with Udo, I was like, oh, that's okay. Well, this is a funny feeling that I'm feeling because I've never felt this before.
And there was no coming back later and fixing this part of the song, or let me take this piece again right here. I just had to not only mentally prepare myself for it, but I literally had to physically prepare myself. I'm on in the gym every day, running, singing my songs, to make sure the vibrato is gonna be right, when I'm doing it live.
I find that a smaller audience in a smaller setting is a little more nerve-wracking, just because it's they're right there, all eyes on you, and I don't know. Just when it's smaller, when it's bigger audiences, I feel a little more comfortable. But it definitely was different. The crowd wasn't just kind of having a good time or whatnot. They were definitely looking at us and watching us the entire time. I would say the cameras definitely were the craziest part. I'm not a huge fan of cameras, and having one attached to the bass was definitely different. Every time I'd look down, there it is. It kind of threw me off guard.
I really had to physically prepare myself and mentally prepare myself, getting the right mindset, knowing that other people were going to be watching me recording kind of threw me off too. I'm used to being in the studio booth and nobody else is around, like, but I'm recording this album and there's like the brightest spotlight on my face and there's like all these people like standing around like watching me record. Like it was exciting.
I was definitely practicing more by myself. Definitely became addicted to halls a little bit. I think I became more wary of taking care of my voice.
I didn't want it to be like, nah, we fucked this up because of you. Like, I wanted to make sure I was good, so it's like, we all gonna be good kind of thing.
I didn't think it was gonna be challenging. I just thought it was gonna push us to where we needed to be pushed as musicians and as professionals and I guess perfectionists when it comes to our craft. The initial rehearsals were pretty much chill and laid back, and then as we got closer to the event, it was like, wait. I think we had another meeting just to reestablish how intense it was going to be.
This was different because, you know, we did it in such a space where it wasn't necessarily conditioned for a live band. Like, we just kind of like jumped out there and we're like, we were gonna do a live band here. Like, yeah, I've recorded live bands, you know, numerous times before, but not like this. This was different because it was like, it was almost equivalent to saying, let's record this outside. Just the sound of it all, making sure everything was as good as it could be. I knew it could be. That was a challenge for me. Like, it was like, can I get the snare to be the best snare it can be? You know what I'm saying? Like, can I get everybody to gel in the best way they can gel? Can I accurately paint this picture that I'm experiencing?
Biggest challenge was gear up front. Like, we moved into a new space, we built it out from the ground up. We're trying to figure out how to get people in here, and we're worrying about, like, people know that we moved, and moving doesn't mean that we're closed, and we gotta make money, we gotta pay bills, and in the midst of all that, now we're gonna record a full band at the same time on computers that we've had for 2-3 years that have been moved around. And, you know, like, my biggest fear, like, we didn't have enough headphones. Like, we never recorded needing 8+ headphones. You know, we never recorded a band all at one time, so we never really pushed the inputs. Like, we mix 50 tracks, 60 tracks, but we normally record at max 2 or 3 at a time. Can the computers handle that? And then we just got this brand new board, and we still figuring out how to use the board, and, you know, it's digital analog, and is it gonna sound good? And we don't have the preamps we had, and, you know, the biggest challenge was gonna be gear. Could we pull it off gear-wise? Because every piece you don't have, you have to buy. And, you know, again, you're pulling money out of nowhere to make this thing happen.
I know we initially had to think about what other instruments could help us produce what we wanted to push out. So the studio ended up renting some additional keyboards from Chuck Levins because the first keyboards that I was using, it wasn't pushing out as much power, and it was pretty much limited in the sounds that it was able to produce. That was something I had never done before because we rented the boards, and I pretty much had maybe like 2 to 3 days to prepare and pretty much like settle my sounds. That in itself is like, I mean, that's challenging in itself because you're going from playing with a keyboard that you're used to all the sounds, and you can just pretty much push the buttons and be like, okay, this is where this synth is at, this is where this string patch is at, and you go from that level of being comfortable to a whole different mindset of oh shit, I gotta find these sounds, I gotta make sure I know what I'm playing and I know what button to push at this exact moment.
So we knew we needed like sound diffusion, and we needed to treat the sounds so that, you know, each individual part didn't necessarily bleed into everybody else's part. So we hit up Craigslist and we researched who was giving away mattresses and like box springs and carpets and all, like a whole bunch of stuff that we could use to help diffuse the sound. We did everything to make it happen. We did anything and everything to make this one happen.
I ain't got no color dropping, but I'll rock you up this
to create something so amazing like that, and have a group of such dope musicians, like, you're gonna bump heads because it's like everybody is really good at this point at what they're doing. So everybody wants their opinion to be heard. And I'm kind of learning a little more about compromising with the group that I'm performing with, because they're dope, and it's like what they got to say is just as important as what I have to say, and their input into the performance was just as important as mine.
It definitely tested us. The days leading up to the actual recording, the pressure was mounting a little bit for everyone, and we were really trying to get things done, and so tensions kind of raised up, but it was nothing, out of the ordinary. It was just, when you're put in a situation like this and told to take it and run, things are bound to happen like that.
There was definitely friction, and I'm glad that there was friction because you see a lot of stories or situations where everything looks like it was great, and I've always pretty much been a part of smooth things. So not only did I appreciate it because it was the first time it was like really happening, but I appreciate it because it let me know that I was in a more intense situation, and what we're doing is even that more real and important and urgent, to where folks have to not, take things personal. And we dealt with some rough times, but as a band, it's like you suck it up, you take that instruction, you take that criticism, and you grow, because that's ultimately what it is. If you're gonna cry about it, bye. There's another bass player, there's another drummer. there's somebody else that can always take your place. And I only want to work with folks that are serious about growth. So I appreciate that, that intense, situation that can occur inside of a band rehearsal.
It was definitely a lot of growth. I think it pushed me as a musician. It pushed, I definitely believe it pushed the other musicians as well. And it pushed our ability to be able to work together and collaborate in that short time frame.
It is you learn each other. You deal with your talent, and then you deal with your personality, your character. And that's major in dealing with music as a musician or as an artist, and how you climb the ladder. A lot of people have talent, and then what we struggle with is our ability of our personality in dealing with others. And so we had to iron out. I'm an aggressive person, and so I had to learn how to communicate with those around me. I guess being a good leader is you just can't just enforce the things that you're strong in, but also look at the things that you're weak in and how that can be stronger. So we had to deal with a lot of disagreements, but we talked about this way before we got to this point. And we talked about, that's one of the beauties of putting together the chemistry of producing music, and not just in music, but just in relationships in general. So you got to go through all those hard times to look at it on the outside looking in and seeing how you been able to accomplish the things that you have been able to do.
I mean, you definitely need to learn how to shut up. I mean, everyone wants to play a chorus, but music is about, the stuff in between, the space in between as well. When we came in here day of, we were all good to go. We all had the same mindset, same vibe, and we were ready as we ever would be.
Our egos get in the way, I think, sometimes. And I have an ego too sometimes, so I definitely can understand. We had some late rehearsals, like those Thursday night rehearsals that went on till 2, those were the worst. Like, I think it was just like some bullshit every one of those rehearsals. They were not my favorite rehearsals to come into, because we was working long hours to like make this really good. So, people get frustrated because you're so connected to it because we put so much time behind it. That so many of our emotions are attached to this project now, so we all have feelings toward it. So if it's something that we really don't like, we're gonna speak up and say we don't like it, and the other person might not feel that way, so they're gonna speak up and say, no, well, I do like this, and it caused some friction, but we worked through it, and that's what you got to go through when you deal with a whole band, but the outcome is so much better.
In a live situation, like, my eyes are always locked on the key player, Don, and they're always locked on Jake, and they're always locked on Joe, and they're always locked on Doug. Like, I keep that equal communication and sync, with everybody inside the band. And, when we had to solve that issue of the drums bleeding into the other microphones and put me, in Albuquerque, it's like, oh, I feel alone.
It definitely was an adjustment for sure. I usually, I'm right next to her, and we're always jamming and vibing when we're playing. And it definitely is weird after playing with her for so long, always like right next to her, and then having her in the B room over here and not in sight at all, and just, you know, I could only connect with her through the headphones. Definitely was different.
It was a challenge that it was just another moment where I was just like, oh wow, this is another opportunity to be even that much greater, you know, as a musician. So what are you gonna do, Asha? Are you gonna sit here and complain about the fact that you can't see your bandmates? Or are you gonna send out these super awesome vibes to the other room that everybody can feel, and they know exactly what your body's doing, and you know exactly what they're doing because you've seen them for so long. So I can see everybody playing while I'm in there, especially if I like just close my eyes and, you know, I'm just lost in the groove. But it was tough. The communication was definitely, you know, rough, but the mind is a powerful thing. I'm one of those spiritual people where I feel like, you know, you can send signals to people. I believe in that stuff. And it worked for me. May not work for everybody, but it worked for me. And by the time of the event, it went really good. It went really good to me. So. Whole nother world back there behind that board. And number one, I love Dave. I just absolutely love who he is as a person, who he is as an engineer. I don't know him too well, but the way that he made me feel, you know, securing that everything was sounding good, making sure my headphones were straight when we were dealing with that situation, keeping the communication good over and over again. Like, some people have an issue with repetition, but Dave will say something over and over again, and it just reassures me that this is important to him too. You know what I'm saying? That he cares about this project just as much as we do. So
Joe, just let me know when y'all good. Just communication with the band, and, you know, Joe and, you know, everybody involved for real, like showtime, day of, communication was key. All through the process, communication was key. Like every practice, all the rehearsals, it's like just the communication and being able to, you know, get the point to them to where they hear it and they're all on the same page.
Every message, every wire, every microphone is urgent to him, and even though it's probably a stressful situation, his communication is supreme to me. You know, he made me feel really great behind those drums.
It was hard, but it wasn't hard. My thing was like, you know, the band loves to twiddle. I want to say like twiddle. So, you know, in between like songs, you know, they would twiddle, and it's like, yo, guys, you know, that's like my time to like, you know, speak and like really get across like next point, woo woo. And, you know, I would just step out and just be like, hey guys, cut that twiddling out, you know. But it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. It was just something that I had to just adjust to. But it wasn't difficult. I just had to make sure the communication was happening.
And for the band, it was great to see them communicate and collaborate, you know, especially with Asha not even being in the same room and them just being on key with the transitions and the stops. Like, I remember when they were in the room looking at each other and they couldn't get it right. So from that point, the musicians did their thing. From Joe, I mean, you know, Joe wasn't somebody that I messed with in the beginning. You know, I was not a Joe May fan when I heard his first project being recorded, and I thought, you know, we had a conversation as a group, and I said, like, yo, you can't sing. Like, you can sing, but you can't sing. And he took a lot of offense to it. And, you know, I put it in context. I was like, Luther Vandross can sing. Adele, Whitney Houston can sing. And you can kind of, like, sing. You know, like, there's certain people who get by off of being light-skinned with curly hair and can hold a note, and that's who you are. And you know, he took offense and he worked on his craft. You know, Joe put in a lot of work. Jake with the songwriting. Jake is a great engineer, you know, good producer, but the 2 best songs in the set were written by Jake, and that's growth. Jake was an intern. You know, we took out the trash, and that was it. And now he's writing songs on a project that could win a Grammy, and it's just like everybody from, you know, Dave, you know, is now the man engineering, running live sessions. You know, Dave's the hip-hop engineer. He's the guy who does the 2 tracks and stutter edits and all the little bells and whistles to make a track good, but can he actually record 16 tracks in and make it sound like something? And he's doing it, so it's growth. I mean, within the last 4 or 5 months growth, not even like years.
The most rewarding part, I would say, it was when we were done and everybody's reaction, but that's when I was the most relieved. I wouldn't say that was the most rewarding part. The most rewarding part was the growth. I feel like I've grown so much as an artist. So much, whereas though when I would perform like live before, vocals were important, but I wasn't like really like, I didn't take it as serious. Like, I just want to turn up. I want to have fun. Like, whatever, I'm going to sound good. Like, it's going to sound dope. But I feel like this has taught me how to turn up, how to have a good time, how to get the crowd pumped, and my vocals still be on point, because I had to really, like, work on that, like, for this. Like, I really put in a lot of, like, time working, making sure that my vocals were going to be on point. So I feel like now when I do a show, I kind of know how to work my voice a little more. Like, I don't have to do all that screaming all the time. Like, I've learned different things I can do with my voice to make it, you know, finesse. Different ways to like finesse my voice and make it sound cool. And that was all because of this. I don't know if I didn't go through this, I would have done that, because I'm just, like I said, I'm so used to working in the studio that the engineer and the producers, they finesse your voice for you. And when you get out live, like, you don't care what it sounds like. The band playing over top of you, half the time people can't hear you. It don't matter. You're just doing whatever. But this has really like helped me like master that. Like vocally, I feel like I've really grown.
Joe is definitely a different type of vocalist than I am, and I love him. And I learned so much from him as a vocalist. Just different types of harmonies, how to prepare my voice for different types of harmonies, how to prepare my voice to sing with that much intensity behind it and power, because a lot of times background vocalists, they have to that's what we do, we fill in the gaps. His gaps are a lot different than my neo-soul background vocals. His is very rock, intense, powerful stuff.
And, you know, I feel like sometimes, you know, especially live, you know, I like to kind of show off a little bit, and who doesn't? But I feel like this project has really made me think about my playing and really kind of support. You know, bass is definitely a supporting role within a band. It's supposed to be the foundation. I feel like I kind of scaled back a bit and kind of achieved more of a supporting role.
There's so many different genres of music I want to touch on, and like that was kind of just one, honestly. It was like that pop rock feel, for the most part. I want to, in my career, touch on so many different genres of music, but I feel like I got that one knocked out. Like, not that I wouldn't do it again, but I feel like, yeah, I did that. Like, I did the whole live sound. Like, I can do that. Like, that's my genre. If I want to do that, I can do that. Like, I mastered that if I want to.
You're creating, you know, something of your own for other people to see and witness and admire.
It kind of is a blur, you know, and it's kind of like in sports, same thing. Like, the practices, you bust your ass and you get hurt and you feel like you're gonna throw up and you're wondering why the hell did I pick whatever sport you're doing. And then the game is kind of like a quick blur, you know, whether it's basketball, it's 48 minutes, or, you know, if it's track, it's a 20-second race, like whatever it may be. That moment of actual execution is always the blur. Like, I couldn't really tell you too much about that night other than like the Motu freaking out, and I think that's it. Like, it just kind of goes. Like, compared to the months of practicing and the building the space and the buying the gear, and those are the things that like stand out to me. Like, I remember when we got the headphones and it was like, all right, well, that situation's fixed. I remember when we decided to move Ash in the drum room and that situation was fixed. I remember when Dave got all inputs working and we were running on all cylinders. I remember those moments. The night of the event, I don't remember too much.
When you actually get to the event and you like look around at kind of like what's happening to you, you know what I mean? And you look at all these people next to you and like what you're doing, you just feel like kind of happy. It's kind of like a peaceful moment, because you know, you train for this forever, and you're with people who you love and who are great at what they do and who you trust. And I think you just have to let go of that other piece. You know what I mean? You have to let go of the worry of like, oh man, I missed the E string in the third song, and then I played this chord all crazy. Because I think if you worry about that stuff too much, especially for me, because I'm the kind of person who always worries about that stuff, I think you miss the moment. And I think it just like, you don't want to be in a position where you're like 80 years old and you look back and you're like, well, I wish I would have had more drinks instead of worried about the second solo in some song I can't even remember anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think, so like I kind of did get in that mindset a little bit of like kind of just enjoying it a little bit more.
The music is good. You know, I think at the core of it, the writing and the songs and the selection and, you know, what Patience and Jake did with the Bang Bang, like, those are like things that I could have never expected. Patience was a background singer who was supposed to support Joe. Now she's got a song on a project that probably is one of the best songs we've done, period. And definitely one of the best recordings. And people were here. That song was probably the one song that I think in the room you could tell people weren't expecting that. Like, she's the background singer on the side, and then she steps up and she's in the spotlight and she does this 90 seconds of this song that everyone's super silent. Even after she was done, people weren't sure if they should clap or not because it was so good. It was like, yo, like, is she done? Like, you want that moment where it's like, yo, it's so good, I wanted to do another verse, and she didn't. Damn.
I was 5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of steel. He wore black and I wore white. He would always win the fight. Bang, bang. He shot me down. Bang, bang. I hit the ground. Bang, bang. That awful sound. Bang, bang. My baby shut me down. My baby shut me down.
It was real though. It was super live. Like, people were like, you know, coming down and like taking pictures of us and kind of like, you know, like looking at us. It was like I was like in a wax museum of myself. Like, that's like how I felt. Like, I was just like, it's like, here you see Ajakus Vicious playing the guitar, and I was just like in my natural habitat. Shows people aren't really caring about like specific notes. You know, but they do. They hear you, especially if you're soloing or doing something lead. Like, people get lost in the moment and the excitement of it, and that's where we really excel at as a band, is because we perform really, really well. But like you said, like when you're doing an album, it's totally different. Because when I cut all my records, like, or at least, you know, some different studio stuff, I've done a couple different things, a couple different ways. But you really focus on, like you said, the individual notes. Like, is the guitarist on time in the third measure? Does the drummer miss her fill coming out of the bridge? You know, does the background vocalist stay in tune for the end of her line? Like, there are things like you really, really, you know, are super, super perfectionist, because you know when you release this record, like, people are going to be hearing it, and that's what they're going to get, and you have that opportunity to, you know, go and smooth things over. And it's the same thing as kind of like the sculpture thing I was talking about before. So that's what this one was crazy to me, only because, like you said, it was a weird fusion of the two, because you're performing, but you're not performing, because like you can't just be like screaming and throwing middle fingers and like flashing the ween. Like, you can't do any of that. You have to like really like reserve and play. But you have to really be cognizant of what you're playing too, because you know it's going to be laid in stone. You know it's going on the album, so it's like twice at the same time. It's pretty crazy.
Instance, me being able to see some of the audience, I was able to play off of the crowd's emotions and what they were feeling. I was able to actually connect with some of the audience at times during the show, based on where I was placed at while I was playing. So sometimes I would be playing my saxophone, and I could actually, it's weird, but I could actually like look into the eyes of a person in the audience and play to that person. And I think that aspect of the recording made the experience what it was supposed to be, or actually made the experience what it was. I guess the energy and the vibe was so organic that it felt like it was a very, very well put together concert.
It was a little bit of pressure knowing that I was gonna have to depend on all these different musicians like live. It was a lot of pressure and it was kind of difficult because I felt that I was under pressure, but I didn't know how to really put that pressure on them without being like an ass about it.
The smallest thing would have set me off then, because it was like walking in a minefield. Like anything can go wrong, and like your boss is here and the audience is like here, so it's like all like that's when the pressure hit for me, like show day, because it was like if anything slightly goes wrong, it's your fault. It's not the band's fault, it's not the audience's fault, it's not the equipment's fault, it's you, mine alone. That's kind of like what it was like resting on, and like I felt it all in that moment.
What? What is going on?
Oh, I thought they were recording.
I got you. Yeah.
One more time or no more time?
We definitely gonna get that one more time.
Can you try it?
I got you. Don't you? Patience, they good out there? What's going on?
Y'all good on video?
Tell them we're gonna take it one more time. And
They're not ready yet.
This is like the cockpit where it's like planes going down but nobody else knows. That was just like what's going on. I felt the energy.
Alright, let me get I'll show the kid. I'll show the kid.
A lot more intense in here than this.
I'll show the kid. Doug, Jake, and let me give you keys to go ahead and jump in. Sax. How you gonna tell me not to ask? And then if they all crash, like they gonna come in here. How's it going?
You can see where the real work is happening because out there everybody's just like relaxed. You walk in, you're just like,
it's not like that anymore.
Let me sit up straight. Let me make sure everything's good.
But it was dope. It was, you know, the music that I wanted to do. Like, I wrote a lot of the songs. Me and Jake, we wrote most of them. So it's not like I didn't have any like input, and they were just somebody just gave me these songs to sing. Like, I was completely hands-on with the music and even some of the production. So it was great. It was dope. Yeah, I feel good about the music.
Music isn't always just a hobby, you know. Every day people hop on the radio or whatever, and they're listening to people where it is their profession, but a lot of times they don't realize with musicians that they know that it's not just something they do on the side, trying to be, like a rock star, weekend rock star. It definitely is a job for me. I put in a lot of time. We all do. And it's just as viable a job as any other, it's my passion and it's definitely what I want to do. And,
they don't get it, I don't think. Like, people don't understand like what it is to like be an artist and and to put in this work and to be a musician, and they don't understand. Like, it's crazy because it's like I still live with my parents, and like I'm going to like rehearsals and stuff like that, like trying to practice for Live at the Treehouse so that we can win a Grammy. And like people in my ear, like, you need to get a job and you need to go to school and you need to do this. It's like, what? Like, I'm doing this. Like, this is so like way better. Like, this is crazy. Like, they don't get it. And I mean, honestly, I don't even expect them to understand. Like, I stop even trying to explain it to other people. I'm just like, they'll see eventually. I'm gonna just keep doing me, and like eventually it'll pay off. But I wish they would understand like the hard work and the dedication that this is going to school. This is a job. Like, this is going to work. Like, it's not all the time like 9 to 5. Sometimes it might be like 6 to 5 in the morning, like, or something like that. Like, it's not your typical 9 to 5, but it's definitely work. Like, we work more than 40 hours a week. And half the time we're not getting paid for it. So it's even more hard. And it takes a lot more discipline than getting up every day and just going to your regular 9 to 5.
It's true to music. It's organic. Everybody that had something to do with the project gave, their all for it and gave their heart for it. I feel like it just proved to everybody that we can pretty much do anything. Like, we can just come up with an idea and do it, just like that. That's what it did for the team. And even for the people that kinda knew it before, they definitely know it now. And for the people that didn't know it at all, They have a lot more hope. It's like being able to work with people and just be positive about it. That's kind of where I grew. Even though I wasn't the most positive on Showtime, like kind of like walking away from it. Like I know how if I were to go into a situation like that again, it'd just be cool.
But with relation to that, it keeps me on track to doing greater things in music. I'm not sure if you're understanding me, but I can care less about what people say about my life. You know what I'm saying? As long as I have the tools, the things, the spirit, the faith to follow my dreams, which is what my path is, then, you know, coming here at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., having folks sleeping on these couches and these floors and here eating noodles 24 days an hour, you know, it's insane, but I would not trade this life for anything else. I wouldn't do it. If I had to do it all over again and we had a week's time, then I'd be in here every single day for 7 hours, 8 hours if we had to, and make that thing happen again. So I hope that answered the question.
I just have to have a lot of faith, and I gotta stay focused, and I believe that I believe, and I feel other people, you have to believe that it's definitely gonna pay off, like all your hard work that you're putting in. It's just, I don't know if it's a karma or like you put in hard work and you get rewarded for it. I feel like that's just how it works. Like that's how it should work. And so that's what I believe. I believe I continue to put in hard work, and one day I will see a reward for it. I'm not saying that reward is gonna be tomorrow or 2 weeks from now, or even a year from now. But eventually, like you put in work and you will be rewarded. Asking you shall receive, and I've been asking a lot.
It tightened up our level of perfection. In terms of people, I think it gave us a chance to hold each other accountable, and I think we were also able to grow closer.
It was really just a personal growth thing, honestly. Like a lot about myself as far as dealing with other people, like I said, and communication with the band. Like I'm still new to like a band situation, so I feel I'm better at working with the band than I was before. I feel we all work together a little better, and we kind of bonded in this experience. We're a lot closer after this experience. I feel like now, before, while we were rehearsing and we would get into an argument or a situation, it would just be like, oh my God, like, what's going on? Like, this is not right. But I feel like now, like in rehearsals, if like there's an issue and like one of us going at it, it's just, it's just normal. We just like, we good. Like, this is what happens. Like, I just feel like it's brought me closer. I feel they're my family. Like, those are like my brothers and my sisters. And it's all from that experience, honestly.
I think it definitely made us grow in several areas. As musicians, I think
I couldn't sleep at night. I was falling asleep every night with drumsticks in my hand, trying to, you know, make sure everything was tight for the collective of the group. The most rewarding thing to me is the fact that we did it. Plain and simple. We got hit with this. We made this happen in this much time with probably this much money. And just to stick with it and not make any excuses throughout the whole thing. I didn't hear any excuses from anybody. It was just like, okay, we have to have rehearsals now from 10 to 2 a.m. Who does that? People who are hungry. You know what I'm saying? So the most rewarding thing for me was the fact that we completed it, that we stuck to the goal and we achieved it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm excited to see what comes after this project is released, in terms of the positive feedback, and also as well as the feedback you get around the sense of being around house in this environment, because I don't know I don't know too many studios or labels who have done anything comparable to what just took place.
I was nervous about the practice time and the personal practice time more so, because we were putting in some pretty good hours as a band, but the first thing was definitely my personal practice time. And as a drummer, it's just really hard to practice anywhere. You know, I've had several cops called on me, even at 11 a.m., you know, times like this, midday, folks, they'll call, cops will come knocking, I can't practice. So I bought an electronic drum set, and I was like, yo, I gotta find a way to practice without making any excuses, so let's get it. I was just like, yo, I don't care what's in the account, charge it, we'll solve problems later. We gotta try and win this Grammy, so.
Go position.
You're a rock star, so you gotta make it so far. I could be a titan, stand so tall, take the bull by the songs and flash it all.
People, they're very talented and they're all very cerebral, but not even that, they're just creatives. They're very like good creatives and good musicians, and so just knowing that I have those people to call as like a family or like as a unit or just somebody to fall back on, because they've definitely seen me in weak moments, you know what I mean, and in strong moments. So just to be able to have that and to know that's actually a thing and to actually be able to, you know what I mean, have confidence that that is a support system there, those things mean a lot to me. So those are definitely my two, probably.
The energy and the vibe and how everybody came together to witness this album, this project that we worked so long and so hard to put together and perfect and make sure was, you know, is the best it could be. Product came like it sounds amazing. I feel like everybody had a great time. It was a wonderful experience, I feel like, for everybody, myself included.
The most rewarding thing for me is that people like the music. I think that means a lot to me because I make a lot of things and I don't necessarily know if any of them are any good. But it's kind of cool to hear that people actually enjoy it and singing along and you know, like really appreciate, you know, the work for what it is and the art for what it is. And, you know, obviously everyone's super involved and super great and super creative, but I don't think you actually know that you have something good until you get that validation from external, you know what I mean, from outside of yourself. So the most rewarding thing for me was for people to say like, that song, that was the song, that's a great record, that should be the single, whatever that is. That's the most rewarding for me because it's like, yeah, it worked, you know what I mean, it meant something. Somebody else could see it for what I saw it as.
I feel like I kind of learned how to be able to harness my attention a little bit and really focus on music and you know, not kind of leave it to the winds of improvisation. I definitely learned a lot about how I can fit bass into recordings, you know, and still have presence but not be overbearing. You know, a project like this definitely teaches you a lot. It did for me, and I feel like that's what all of us are really rewarded with, is just you know, something to put under a belt, and you know, if we can snag that Grammy too, you know, I mean, that's just the icing on the cake, man.
And it's hard for me to answer this question because I'm still growing as a student in music. So there's still a lot of things that I just don't know about that process, because I'm transitioning from somebody who really doesn't care what we play, because I just love playing the drums, you know what I'm saying? But to have to refocus my mindset on something this important, I have yet to even know what types of people we contend with. I mean, I think the project is awesome. I think it's Grammy worthy from, Grammys that I've seen being accepted, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, there's a whole nother game to that. I think it's definitely an excellent project. I pray and send out the energy that it's Grammy worthy. If I had the Grammy to give to ourselves, heck yeah, I'd give it to us, so.
The potential of having a Grammy nominated tag on your name is something in and of itself. Like I've been eyeing a Grammy since I was in high school. Like that shit was on my personal statement. Like this is what I plan on doing, and I think one of the reasons why I've been put into positions that has me close to reaching that goal is because I actually wrote it down and I put it into, I guess, the fact that I put it into the universe and I was like, well, I want to win, or I want to be a Grammy nominated, or I want to be a Grammy winner. So I feel like the universe like looked at that and was like, okay, I'm going to somehow help him fulfill that goal.
The result was I learned a lot about like myself and like how to deal with like other people. I really had to grow up for this experience. Like it was very serious. I had to take a role in this that was a big deal. Like we're trying to get a Grammy. Like the word Grammy, like really just like every day before rehearsal, like sometimes I had to like sit in my car and like clear my head and say a little prayer to myself to get myself mentally ready.
When you think about all a Grammy really is, it's a horrible little sousaphone golden right joint, but it's basically just a recognition of people who work hard towards a goal of music, and music is for the betterment of people, right? Music is just rhythm and melody used to bring people together to celebrate these little feelings or emotions or movements we go through called life. So I think if you really take a look at it that way and just look at what these people that we gathered around don't really have what Dr. Dre has. I don't have $3 billion, so I can just be like, boom, 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 get your feature, get your poster on this, get a magazine joint, star in One Tree Hill, do whatever. Like, I can't do that yet. But what I can do now is I can use the gift that I've been given and try and harness the gifts in other people when they let me to create one positive thing and make somebody else's day better. Make that take part of the little bit of confusion and whatever it is to be human and this feeling of like lost and not knowing purpose, and use that to like use these songs and this music to like help somebody. And I think like if people are listening and clapping and loving it and saying, I can't wait to listen to that again, like, oh, I heard that song that reminds me of X, Y, and Z that I went through, and like that means it's Grammy worthy because you connected with the person. And I think like that's what people forget, It's meant to make music and try and share something, try and make good music to improve the world, and try and share something that I have with other people. So
I know what the calling on my life is, and it's music. And I've made significant sacrifices just like everybody else in this band has.
I feel like what we created, especially because it was in a very short amount of time, has a very unique sound. For instance, the name of the group is the House Collective, and one of the main reasons why we chose this name was because we all come from different musical backgrounds, and I feel like it was kind of a melting pot, and because of how quick we had to churn it out, it was just kind of it was very organic. There wasn't any time to really make this project any kind of sellout or any kind of conformity. I feel like it was very original, very organic.
I would be floored. Like I said, I've been like really trying to reach that goal, like since I made that declaration to myself in high school. So I know I'd definitely be like hella grateful just to the creator for allowing me to reach that goal. I'd be grateful to be put in the environment and put into the settings that I was put into to even allow that to happen, and I guess grateful for the people that allowed that to happen as well. Like that'd be so crazy. That'd be crazy. Like I can't even fully put that into words. How awesome that would be. I can't at all.
it's really dope, and we worked really hard, and I feel like that's what the Grammy should be about. Like, who put in that work, who produced the best quality, and I feel like the quality of it is amazing.
Just recording a dope project with some pretty dope people. Grammy wouldn't hurt either.
It's got the right intention behind it. You know, if you think of the projects that move people and change time, and like Adele's project wasn't the standard for music. There wasn't anything like that to say like singing ballads with grand pianos was the way to go, but Adele's music had the right intention. The production, the whole feel had the right intention. Lauryn Hill's project won all those Grammys and did all that, had the right intention. You know, I think when you look at the projects that kind of stop time and people say, oh man, like that's kind of special, they always start with the right intention, and this project has the right intention. And the fact that everybody's super talented, super dope, on their own could be a star in any other situation, it's, you know, we're winning already. So I'd be shocked if we weren't even mentioned in the conversation. But at the end of the day, we've won regardless.
This one's for my sister and all that she's been through. She works too damn hard, she's got everything to prove. And this one's for my mother and all she's fighting for. She sees it all, she refuses to fall, she's always wanting more. We're living in a world where everything feels plastic. We're losing all the magic, but if we find our velvet, we're giving them something to talk about, giving them something to talk about. This one's for the fighter who's punched drunk out of luck. Yeah, he's playing hard on that red guitar for an empty solo cup. He knows there's no tomorrow, so he plays for yesterday. Oh, little girl in the shadow world that he prays will fade away. Singing, we're living in a world where everything feels plastic. We're losing all the magic, but if we find our velvet, we're giving them something to talk about. We're giving them something to talk about. Open the sky with me and find. Oh, life to bring you home. They got me living in a world where everything is madness. All the love is turned to madness. But if we find our velvet, we're giving them something to talk about, giving them something to talk about. We're living in a world where everything feels plastic. We're losing all the magic, but if we find our velvet,
All right, y'all. So I just want to go through and introduce y'all to everybody who's out here with me and made this all possible. Right here we got Patience on vocals. Y'all make some noise for Patience. I got my man DM over here on keys. We got Reggie tearing up the sax. Reggie Volume. We got Asha in the room. Y'all can't see her, but she been killing all night. Y'all make some noise for her. Got Doug America over here on the bass. Got my man Jake Vicious right here on guitar. Y'all make some noise one more time for Roddy MC. Shout out to Dave, man, hey engineer, killing. Shout out to the video crew, to House, to YouTube, everybody that made this possible. To all of you guys, we love you. I'm Joe May, and this is Live at the Treehouse. You guys are awesome. Thank you.